"Want to be my favorite kid?" "Pay for it," my stepdad said after I gave him $10,000 to start his car business. At the opening, he introduced me as one of my wife's kids. I left before the ribbon was cut. "You want to be my favorite kid?" my stepdad said, wiping grease off his hands and smirking like it was some kind of joke. "Pay for it." I laughed. I thought he was kidding. He wasn't. 2 weeks later, I wired him 10 grand, my entire savings. Every cent I'd scraped together from working overtime, skipping vacations, living small. I gave it to him because he said he needed help starting his dream, a used car lot. "I just need a boost," he told me, "and you're the only one I trust. You're different from the rest. You've got drive." And stupidly, I believed him. I believed that maybe, for once, he saw me as more than just my mom's kid. So I paid. I didn't even tell her. He said, "Just between us guys," and I wanted to be seen like that. Like one of the guys. Like a son. The day of the grand opening, I wore my best blazer. Brought a camera. I was nervous, excited even. I thought maybe he'd say something, just a quick, "Thank you," or even a nod to acknowledge what I'd done. Instead, when the local news guy asked who I was, my stepdad clapped a hand on my shoulder and said, "This is one of my wife's kids." He helped out a little. One of my wife's kids. Helped out a little. The words hit me like a punch in the chest. The back of my neck went hot. I glanced at his real sons, grinning, holding beers, slapping each other's backs. His daughter was handing out flyers. My mom was beaming like this was our win. But I wasn't even in the photo lineup. No one mentioned my name. I just stood there, watching him cut the ribbon with the giant scissors I paid for, and something in me snapped. I handed the scissors to his eldest boy and said quietly, "You do it." Then I turned around and walked away. I didn't stay for the champagne. I didn't take a picture. I didn't say goodbye. No one stopped me. It didn't start with $10,000. It started years ago with a pizza. I was 17. My stepdad, Rick, had just moved in with us after marrying my mom. He wasn't cruel. Not at first. He just didn't care. He was loud and charming with everyone else, but when it came to me, I was invisible. I remember once he bought pizza for everyone and turned to me with a smirk and said, "You got $5?" I thought he was joking, but he wasn't. That's when it clicked. I wasn't part of his picture. I was just the background. Over the years, that feeling never really changed. Rick made it clear who mattered. His kids. His 2 sons, Jake and Logan, were hustlers, according to him. Even when Jake dropped out of college or when Logan lost 3 jobs in a row, Rick would still talk about them like they were the second coming of Steve Jobs. And me? I was quiet, not ambitious, book smart but not street smart. Every word was a backhanded compliment. My mom would laugh along, like it was just a joke. "Don't take it personally," she'd say. "You know how Rick is." But I did take it personally. Because no matter how hard I worked, I was always just her kid. Never our kid. Still, I tried. I worked through college, paid my rent, never asked for help. Rick's kids, on the other hand, always seemed to have their hands out. When Jake needed a new laptop, Rick got it for him. When Logan wanted to start a podcast, Rick bought him equipment. Thousands down the drain. But when I mentioned taking a short course to improve my resume, Rick laughed. "You need a course to figure out your life?" And yet, somehow, I still wanted his approval. I wanted him to see me. So when he started talking about opening his own used car business, I listened. He'd been a mechanic for 20 years and said he was tired of making other people rich. He had this dream of owning a lot, selling pre-owned cars with integrity. He pitched it to everyone, my mom, his sons, his old coworkers. No one bid. Too risky, they said. No one wanted in. Except me. "You're smart," he said one night, cracking open a beer. "You're the only one who gets it. You help me get this going. I'll make it up to you tenfold. Wow, you'll be my partner." Partner. That word. It hit me so hard I couldn't breathe. A week later, I wired him $10,000. I didn't ask for a contract. I didn't ask for my name on the business. I just trusted him. I wanted to believe that maybe this was our turning point. Maybe now he'd finally treat me like I mattered. But from the moment the money left my account, something changed. He stopped calling me with updates. Every time I asked how things were going, he'd wave me off with a "Relax, it's coming together." When I offered to help with the branding or marketing stuff I actually knew how to do, he told me, "Let the men handle it." Let the men handle it. That stung more than I wanted to admit. Meanwhile, his sons were suddenly very involved. Jake was managing social media, and Logan was learning sales. They were in every group photo, every planning meeting. I wasn't invited to any of them. At first, I brushed it off, told myself I was just imagining it. But then I saw the business Instagram page, and every single photo was of Rick, Jake, and Logan. Our family dream, the caption read, built from scratch. No mention of me. No mention of the money. And when I confronted him, he laughed. You're being sensitive, Rick said, clapping a hand on my shoulder. Come on, kid. It's not about credit. It's about family. Funny how family only mattered when it came to me paying the bills. Then came the final straw. 3 days before the grand opening, I dropped by the lot to check on things. I brought coffee for everyone. Jake took his and didn't even say thank you. Logan asked if I was just there to watch. Rick barely looked at me. He was too busy talking to a local business reporter, hyping up the legacy he was passing on to his sons. That night, I sat in my car, staring at the steering wheel for half an hour. I was done. I knew it. But part of me still hoped that maybe, on the day of the grand opening, Rick would finally say something real. Maybe he'd tell people I helped. Maybe he'd thank me. I wasn't even a kid anymore. I was 28. But Rick still called me kid. He called all his kids that Jake was 31, Logan 26, but when he said it to them, it sounded warm, like a badge of belonging. When he said it to me, it felt different, distant, like a nickname for someone whose name you never bothered to learn. And still, I wanted to hear it. I wanted to be called that and have it mean something. Because the truth is, I never really had a dad. My real father left before I turned 5. No calls. No birthday cards. Just silence. My mom tried. She did. But growing up without a father leaves a hole. And when Rick came into our lives, I thought maybe, just maybe, that hole would finally close. He was funny, confident, always surrounded by people. He had that energy that filled a room. And I was a quiet, awkward teenager who desperately wanted someone to teach me how to be. I remember the first time he took Jake and Logan to a baseball game. I stood by the door, waiting for an invite that never came. Next time, he said. There never was a next time. But I still tried. For years, I tried. I laughed at his jokes. I offered to help around the house. I celebrated every dumb birthday gift he gave me like it was gold. And when he started calling me kid, even if it felt fake, I clung to it like a lifeline. Because I wasn't asking for much. I didn't need to be his favorite. I just wanted to matter. So when he said, "You want to be my favorite kid? Pay for it," I laughed. But deep down, I was already reaching for my wallet. Instead, he called me one of my wife's kids. Like I was a neighbor's cousin who'd stopped by to hand out balloons. And I was done. The morning of the grand opening, I stood in front of the mirror and told myself this was it. This is the day he finally sees you. I wore a pressed shirt, clean slacks. I even bought new shoes. I told myself I was going just to support, just to be there, but deep down I knew. I wanted something. A word. A nod. A thank you. Instead, I got a slap in the face. When I arrived, Rick was in full showman mode. Laughing loud, clapping people on the back, acting like he'd just opened a Fortune 500 company. His sons were already wearing embroidered jackets with the company logo on the chest. I stood there with my hands in my pockets, watching them take photos in front of a massive banner that read, Rick and Sons Auto Group, built by blood. Built by blood. My stomach turned. Jake came up, smirked, and said, "You here to help park cars or something?" I ignored him. I was done pretending we were brothers. Rick waved me over. "Hey kid," he said, not even pausing from shaking someone else's hand. "Grab the scissors, will ya?" So I did. I held them in front of him like a fool, smiling for the camera. He didn't even look at me when he introduced me to the local news crew. "This is one of my wife's kids." He helped out a bit. That was it. That was my entire role in his story. $10,000. 3 months of stress. A year of hope. And I was one of my wife's kids. I handed the scissors to Jake, turned on my heel, and walked toward the parking lot. "Yo." Rick called after me. "Where you going?" "The ribbon's not cut yet." I stopped, slowly turned around. And for the first time in my life, I said it. "I'm done." He blinked. "What?" I walked back toward the crowd. Everyone went quiet. Even the photographer lowered his camera. "You want to know where I'm going?" "I'm going to get my money back," I said, my voice calm, but shaking with something I'd never let out before, rage. $10,000, Rick. That's what I gave you. Not a loan. Not an investment. Just a gift from someone naive enough to think you ever truly cared. People started whispering. Rick raised his hands, trying to laugh it off. "Hey now, let's not make a scene." "No, let's," I snapped. Let's talk about what it really took to open this place. Let's talk about how your real sons didn't give a dime. Let's talk about how you promised I'd be your partner, but I'm not even worth a name drop. Jake stepped in, face red. Okay, that's enough. No, it's not enough, I said. You all want to pretend this business is built on family? Then say it out loud. Say who paid for it. Say who you used. Rick finally snapped. I didn't use you. You wanted to help. You're always so desperate for approval. I never asked you to give me anything. My voice went cold. No, you just implied it. You dangled your approval like a prize and said I could earn it. He flinched. Just a little. But I saw it. And you know what's worse? I added louder now. You knew I didn't have a dad. You knew I was just some quiet kid craving a father figure, and you fed off that. You took my need for love and turned it into leverage. Everyone was frozen. No one moved. Even Jake stepped back. My mom had just arrived. I hadn't seen her, but I heard her voice behind me, trembling. Sweetheart, maybe we can talk about this. I turned. You knew too, didn't you? You knew he was never going to treat me like one of his own. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Rick started laughing bitterly. You know what? You always were sensitive. Maybe you're not cut out for this family. You can't take a joke. You can't take a hit. Maybe you're just. Say it, I dared him. Say it to my face. He stared at me. A mistake, he said finally. You were a mistake. Silence. Utter, suffocating silence. And then I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so ridiculous. You know what, Rick? I said, stepping forward. That's the last time you'll ever speak to me like that. You don't get to call me a mistake and keep my money. You want to talk contracts? I may not have one, but I've got receipts. I'm coming for every penny. He scoffed. You're bluffing. I pulled out my phone. Am I? I opened a folder, screenshots of our text messages, bank transfers, photos of the checks, a voice memo where he called me his partner. He went pale. Try me, I said quietly. I'm not your kid. I'm not your backup. And I'm not your bank. Then I walked out, past the crowd, past the stunned family, past the ribbon no one cut. I didn't look back. Not this time. The silence was the first thing I noticed. After I walked away from the grand opening, there were no calls. No texts. Not from Rick. Not from my mom. Not even a passive-aggressive message from Jake or Logan. Just silence. And strangely, I didn't mind. That night, I sat on my bed, still dressed in the clothes I wore to the event. I stared at the ceiling and waited for the guilt to come. The doubt. The voices in my head whispering, you ruined everything. You overreacted. You burned the bridge. But none of it came. Just silence. And peace. The next morning, I woke up early and made myself a real breakfast. Eggs, toast, coffee. No rush. No tension. I didn't have to pretend. I didn't have to prove anything. For the first time in years, I wasn't bracing for someone to call me too sensitive or not helpful enough. I was just me, and it was enough. Still, the fallout didn't stay quiet for long. 3 days after the opening, I got a call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Later, I listened. Hey, it's Logan. That surprised me. He sounded awkward, hesitant. I don't know what happened at the opening, man, but I didn't know you gave Dad that money. I didn't know any of it. Look, Jake and we were just doing what he asked. He told us it was all taken care of. I don't know. I guess. I just wanted to say, sorry, I guess. I stared at the phone. I hadn't expected that, but I didn't call back. Later that night, I got a message from my mom. Can we talk? That was all she wrote. I ignored it, because I already knew what she wanted. Not a conversation. Not accountability. Just damage control. They were worried. And they should be. I'd spoken to a lawyer the day after the opening. Just a consultation. Nothing aggressive. I wasn't sure if I'd actually go through with legal action, but I wanted them to know I could. That I wasn't the quiet kid anymore. That if they pushed me, I'd push back. My lawyer smiled when I explained what happened. You may not have a signed contract, he said. But if you have texts, voice memos, and bank transfers that prove a verbal agreement or expectation of partnership, you've got leverage. And if he used your money to fund the business while denying your role, that's exploitable. I nodded slowly. Good. I don't even care about the money. He raised an eyebrow. Then what do you care about? I looked him in the eye. I want them to feel what I felt. Used. Overlooked. Forgotten. I didn't send any demands. Not yet. I wanted to give it space, to see how they'd react when I pulled away completely. And that's when it started. By the end of the week, Rick posted a photo on Facebook of the grand opening. In the caption, he wrote, Thankful for my sons, Jake and Logan, for helping me turn my dream into a reality. Built from family. Built from love. No mention of me, of course. But the comments were gold. Where's your other kid? Didn't your stepson help you with this? Pretty sure I saw someone else holding the scissors. It didn't go viral, but the locals saw it. And people started talking. Small towns don't forget things like that. A few days later, I ran into Mrs. DeLuca, the woman who owned the bakery down the street. She gave me a soft smile. Shame what Rick did to you, she said gently. I always thought you were the most decent one out of that whole family. I blinked. You heard. She chuckled. Everyone did. Funny. For a man obsessed with image, Rick sure didn't handle scandal well. The next week, I got an email. Not from Rick. From a lawyer. His. They were offering me a gesture of appreciation $3,000 and a request that I stop claiming involvement in the business. I laughed so hard I almost dropped my phone. That was when I knew. I had power now. And they knew it. I didn't respond. I forwarded it to my lawyer. He said one word. Pathetic. But money wasn't the point anymore. It wasn't about lawsuits. It was about freedom. So I got to work. On me. I updated my resume. Reached out to a friend from college who ran a startup in the city. He offered me a remote role, decent pay, flexible hours, creative work. I accepted immediately. Then, for the first time in 6 years, I booked a trip. Just for me. No guilt. No begging for time off. No pretending it was for someone else. Just a week by the ocean, a cabin, my camera, and silence. And one night, as I stood on the balcony watching the waves crash, I felt it. Relief. I didn't belong to them anymore. And that was the most powerful thing I'd ever known. It's strange how quiet life becomes when you stop trying to prove yourself to people who never really saw you. It's been 3 months since the grand opening. 3 months since I walked away from Rick, from the illusion of family, from that place I once called home. And for the first time in my life, I'm not looking back. I moved to a new apartment on the other side of the city. Nothing fancy, 1 bedroom, 2nd floor walk-up, creaky stairs, and peeling paint. But it's mine. The rent comes out of my account. The fridge is filled with food I like. No one comes in unannounced. No one rolls their eyes when I speak. I don't walk on eggshells anymore. Some mornings I just sit at the kitchen window, sipping coffee, listening to silence, real, peaceful silence, and I smile. Because now I know. I don't owe anyone anything. Not Rick. Not Jake. Not Logan. Not even my mom. Especially not my mom. I used to wonder why she never stood up for me. Why she sat there, time after time, watching as I was erased from family photos, conversations, decisions. Why she let Rick talk over me, dismiss me, manipulate me. I think the truth is she was afraid of losing him more than she was afraid of losing me. And maybe that hurts more than anything else. But I've made peace with that too. I stopped expecting love from people who only know how to take. My heart's been stitched back together with boundaries and self-respect. Now I give my love carefully to people who deserve it. People like Ava. Yeah, I met someone. It's still new. Still fragile. But it's real. She listens when I talk. She doesn't ask me for anything. And when I told her about what happened, all of it, she didn't flinch. She just looked me in the eye and said, I'm proud of you. I didn't even realize how much I needed to hear that until I did. Not, you're too sensitive. Not, you're making a scene. Not, get over it. Just pride. From someone who sees me for who I am. It was Ava who pushed me to finally finish the letter. The one I'd been writing in my head for weeks. The one I never planned to send. But then something happened. I got a text. From Rick. Heard you're talking to lawyers. That really necessary? We're family. That word again. Family. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I opened my laptop, pulled up the document, and finished typing. Rick. You always said family helps each other. I agree. But what you never understood is that help isn't a transaction. It's not silence bought with money. It's not loyalty earned through manipulation. Help means recognizing someone's worth, and you never did. You took $10,000 from me, called me your partner, then erased me from your story. You didn't just take my money. You took my trust, my time, my belief that maybe I've finally had a father figure. You betrayed all of it. I'm not suing you. Not because you don't deserve it. You do, but because I don't want another cent tied to your name. I'm done trying to buy love that should have been free. And don't worry, I won't show up again. Because I'm not your kid. I never was. I hit print. Folded the letter. Dropped it in the mail the next morning. No return address. No signature beyond the first initial. It felt good. Not revenge. not pettiness. Closure. 2 weeks later, I got a message from Logan again. Just a simple text. I left the business. You were right. I didn't reply. Not out of spite. I just didn't need to. He'll figure it out, or he won't. It's not my job to guide anyone anymore. A few days after that, my mom called. I didn't answer, but I listened to the voicemail. Hi, honey. I was just thinking about you. I know things got messy. I guess I wanted to say I'm sorry. For not saying anything. For not protecting you. I just hope you're okay. I love you. I played it twice. I didn't cry. I didn't feel rage. I just sat with it. Because that's what healing looks like. Not vengeance. Not silence. Just clarity. I haven't called her back. I might, one day. But not until I know I can do it without slipping back into that old version of me. The one who begged for scraps of affection. The one who thought love had to be earned with money and silence. I'm not that kid anymore. I'm a man now. And I've got a new life. One where I matter, not because I pay, but because I exist. One where family isn't defined by blood or last names, but by respect, by safety, by truth. That's the only family I care about now. And I'm building it. Day by day. Brick by honest brick.